This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Hello, welcome to the Research Talks here on Stockbox with Alan Green. Alan, how are you doing at the end of another week? Pretty busy for us anyway.
Yeah, here we are at the end of, January's gone. That's it.
January's
Done.
gone already.
So one down, 11 to go, and it'll be Christmas. But this year has flown by already, hasn't it? And it's already been pretty eventful. Lots of things happening, and we've seen some encouraging movements in the markets this week. We've seen power metal shares power back over a penny again, or 0.1p. So that's good to see. There seems to be some stirrings in the resource sector. But then, other stocks that you'd expect to push higher, like Blencow, for instance, announced its results, and the stock fell to 4p. So there's no telling at the moment. It's as somebody once said, the stock market can remain irrational for longer than you can remain solvent. And I've got no solvency issues, but I certainly can understand where that sentiment comes from.
Good to hear you've got no solvency issues, Alan. That's
yes. Of course, we could speak next week, and that could be different altogether.
Be very different. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's nice to see Power getting some momentum back in it. That is nice to see.
Yeah.
So let's see how they do. But today we're going to cover Sovereign Metals, who recently had some news, which is quite nice. Extension to their resource there they discovered. Premier African Minerals as well, who of course are coming up on a pretty momentous few weeks, all being well, getting into production. I know the mill has left the factory. It's on its way to site, so hopefully that'll arrive within a week or so. And then Voyager Life as well, so a bit of a different away from mining, but of course Nick Tulloch announcing that they have some acquired a company and a new product line. So there's a few things to talk about. So over to you. Which one would you want to take first?
Well, let's start in the order that you introduced, Mark.
Sure.
Let's start with Sovereign, and of course, I've worked with Sapan for some years, and Sapan guys, of course, the Chief Commercial Officer, and I know you've interviewed him, Mark, and Sapan was indeed presenting the other evening just this investment case for this incredible project in Malawi, Kasia, and the Kasia project really has made waves and ripples around the world. It is indisputably the largest rutile project in the world. 1.8 billion tons of rutile. What is rutile? He said, well, rutile is the source mineral for titanium, and of course, titanium has a multitude of uses in aerospace, in optics, in metal fabrications, and also applications such as paints. You get titanium in the brilliant white paints that appear on the shelves of your local DIY store. A multitude of applications. But of course, Kasia also has a huge graphite resource too. So there is an estimated 1.8 billion tons within the resource area. The currently no mineralized area at Kasia in Malawi, which is 280 square kilometers. And the team have been working on this project for a number of years. Of course, we've seen the share price sort of move and ebb and flow with the development of the project. The last year has seen some pretty meaningful movement in the share price. We saw the high of 31p back at the start of last year, and we're currently sitting at 23.5p. There have been so many developments over the year, and of course, I think one of the key cornerstone developments to really put Sovereign's Kasia project on the map was the investment by Rio Tinto into the project. So Rio are now a major shareholder in Sovereign. They put $40 million in, but of course, with Rio, you don't just get the money, you also get their expertise, you get the huge amount of resource that they can bring to a project like this. And of course, they have a technical committee and a team that are working to progress optimization of the process as the Cassia project enters the DFS phase, which of course it's now in. Over the past few months, we've seen a number of major developments. Of course, there are off-take agreements in place already with the likes of Mitsui Hascore, the welding giant. Of course, rutile also is a key part of the welding rods that are so important in fabrication. Chemours, the French chemical giant, there's a takeoff agreement there, and also other major shareholders apart from Rio, including the investment company Sprott. They now hold about 12% of the company. So as we sort of came into 2024, the team announced that they had appointed a social essence to manage the corporate or the community and social responsibility framework, the CSR framework within Malawi. And of course, when you've got a project of the scale, it impacts hugely on the community there. And there are obligations that come with a project like this that is life-changing for the local people that live there, but also something that is going to potentially impact on the GDP of Malawi. And indeed, the president of Malawi spoke at the UN Council about a year ago and cited Cassia as an important cornerstone of Malawi's economical development, and that went around the world. So, as I say, with that comes these responsibilities. Social Essence were appointed to manage stakeholder returns, social performance objectives, and build a community and social responsibility framework, which is going to be a key part of the DFS process. That's, of course, the definitive feasibility study. They have a great track record. They're Africa focused, and they also worked previously with First Quantum Minerals to develop relations with that community during the development of the giant Sentinel copper mine. In addition, Dr. Julian Stevens, who spearheaded the development of and the evolution of Cassia for so long, was stepped to one side. He's remains on the board, and Frank Egar, who joined the company initially in December 22 as general manager, was appointed managing director. And Frank has a long history working in Africa, primarily for AMED funds, and was appointed chief financial officer for Central Copper Resources and was formerly the chief executive of Baobab Steel. So he's now heading the team up. We also heard that the lithium-ion battery program was upscaled. Of course, the graphite element of the asset that was upscaled. 60 tons of ore were extracted to produce an initial 600 kilograms of natural flake graphite. And of course, this will be tested and assessed. We've spoken before. I spoke about Blencow last week and the Orme Cross Graphite Project. Of course, the graphite has to be tested for its quality and its purity. So that process is starting. And also, Sovereign said it expected to make further appointments to develop its capabilities as the DFS progress and also progress the optimization program alongside the Rio Tinto technical committee. So we're really seeing this process gather pace now. Then in February, yesterday, in fact, the company announced that it was now drilling outside the mineral resource estimate area. If it's worth going to the website to look at the presentation, because in the presentation that was published in November last year, the company said that operating Cassia for 25 years would only mine 30% of the currently known mineralization. And that just kind of gives you a glimpse into the sheer scale of this project and what they've discovered there. So So now they've established that mineral resource estimate. They can now they're now drilling outside into to the south of the existing asset, and they've identified an additional 8 kilometer mineralization extension, which is open at strike and depth. We know the mineral resource estimate of 1.8 billion tons of rutile, and that's at 1% rutile, and the graphite 1.4%. That's over an area, as I say, 280 kilometers. But already the grades that they're pulling out of the ground in this extension beyond that zone, we're seeing similar grades, 1.3% at 14 meters rutile, and the grades are consistent in line, I think, with the rest of the project. So it's very likely as this drilling continues that we're going to see an upgrade to the mineral resource estimate and of course the value of Cassia as the project progresses, which if you're a major stakeholder like Rio Tinto is fantastic news. But either way, if we look at the current valuation, it's very much toward the lower end of the trading zone over the year. The 52-week low is 20p. We're currently trading at 23.5p, so it's a very good entry point now. Gives the company a valuation of around 140 million, 150 million sterling. So given the scale of the project, I'd say that's pretty good value.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. And I mean, it is obviously, got a fairly decent market cap there, but I don't think that means it can't, as you say, still go up, still increase further. I mean, that statement, is it the biggest rutile deposit in the world? Was that?
It dwarfs. I mean, the thing is, there's a real scarcity of rutile. So you've got Sierra Rutile, you've got another project in Kenya, but both of those are about a third of the size of the Cassia project. So it is vast, but also that size comparison is based on the current mineral resource estimate. And what we heard yesterday is that they're drilling outside that resource zone. That's so, and they've identified another extension which is 8 kilometers long, and it's likely, given what Cassia has given up so far, it's likely that they could probably drill or keep on looking at that strike extension. They may find it continues further still. So the project could end up being, much larger than than its current status, and already it's by far the world's biggest rutile project. So it's really exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, they are sitting on an absolute blockbuster here. They
Well,
really
I've just found that quote I was looking for. So, aiming to be the world's largest, lowest cost, and lowest emissions producer of the two critical minerals, titanium, rutile, and graphite. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty bold statement there, and it's only the current sort of NPV is what, 30%, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Of the whole area, yeah. So I mean, there's still, and then you find these little things yesterday where there's the extension coming on. It's just like another little sort of thing, isn't it? That's going on at the same time, which is sort of like, as you say, outside the area, as well as the work going there for the PFS with Rio. That's obviously a huge name, and they can go up to 19.99, which I think is the limit, isn't it? Before perhaps something triggers.
Yeah,
and you kind of get these little catalyst events maybe, and I think it could happen any day, couldn't it? On a sort of a wider bid coming in.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but also if you're sovereign and you're finding this extension, if Rio, I mean, Rio could just sit here as a shareholder and keep up and just stay for the ride. But I suspect that it's analyzing everything that comes in. Obviously, it's come in as an investor, but it's also very much on the ground with the team there. And yeah, I think a bid is possible, but also that bid is going to have to be at a real premium because they've already found this additional 8 kilometer. You can bet your bottom dollar the rest of the team are out there looking at other possible extensions, and if they find other extensions, then the sky really is the limit. On the current mine life, it's modeled for an initial 25 years, and that's just within that the JORC area, if you like. And they've got operating costs. There's what's an area called the Nacala Corridor, which is a logistics, which is basically a road and rail and everything else, and that runs straight through to the port on the coast. So that's a key part of this. Obviously, shipping the product to market, but the operating costs using that corridor are 400, just over $400 a ton to get the stuff out and get it to market, which is very good.
Indeed. Well, thank you, Alan, for that. I'm definitely going to be following that sovereign story very closely. But let's talk about Premier African Minerals then, of course, with big, yeah, busy few weeks coming, all being well.
Again, I mean, Premier, it's at a really exciting juncture. You know, when you invest into a mining company, you know, this is what you wait for, isn't it? You wait for
Indeed.
you've gone through the process, you've done your analysis, you've done your aeromag surveys, then you've done the drilling, then you've got the product out of the ground, then you've gone through your preliminary economic assessment, then your pre-feasibility study, then your DFS, your definitive feasibility study, then you build the thing, get it into production. And it never goes up in a straight line. There are always challenges and issues every step of the way. And indeed, George Roach and his team at Premier have encountered
Hmm.
their fair share, I think it's fair to say.
Well, given it
Um,
was almost a year ago when I was there, and they did just do that first bag of spodumene, probably not the best quality in the world, but they did press it. Maybe they'll get it in under the year, and it'll be running again.
It could well, it could well, but I mean, we've seen with George and the team at Zulu. I mean, it's just been this, you know, breathless, relentless process of getting this mine up and running, staggering over the finishing line into production, and then of course there are quality control issues, there are issues with the equipment, you know,
Mm.
all of which are to be expected because
Mm.
you know, as we were saying earlier, Mark, it's a huge area. Africa, it's a massive country, and getting equipment from A to B, getting stuff built, getting on site, you know, it's a logistical challenge at the very best of times. And I think we're just seeing those challenges worked out of the system, and of course, we're very close to their big day. But of course, for Premier shareholders, it's been a bit of a white knuckle ride. We've seen these shares trading at a high of just over a penny and then down to 0.15p at the low, currently trading at 0.23p. And of course, that is very much centered on the fact that Premier raised 2.4 million in December at 0.23p. At the same time, they also settled 2 million in invoices to Goddard Mining Contractors, you know, the company that's actually operating the site and so on. And they settled 2 million invoices, issued 769 million shares to the team. But that raise was also cornerstoned by two institutional investors, one of whom had supported Premier on the previous raise. So that's very much put a floor under the share price. And I think, you know, investors will be relieved to see that. Obviously, a lot may have bought in higher, but you know, when you look at the funds raised and we're so close to production now, you know, you've got to look at it and say, well, actually, you know, that's probably put a floor under everything, and we can now hopefully see production commence. Then, of course, in January, the company announced the southeast zone, the pegmatite assays that had come back from there were very good. The mineralization was almost exclusively spodumene, and in terms of developing and restarting operations, the company still believes it's on schedule for this month. So you know, we should hear something hopefully from George and the team in the next few weeks. But the new mill installation en route, almost completed, and that the company said in that announcement no issues were anticipated with ore delivery to run of mine. Mine gate production costs at the moment $800 a ton for SC6, which of course is the premium lithium that everyone or manufacturers are looking for. So that should fall in time once production starts to roll out and
Hopefully, even
accelerate.
better. I think from the last interview, George alluded to the fact it may even be SC7. Hmm.
Yeah, if it's SC7, that could be even better. But
Indeed.
I think given given the trials and tribulations that Premier has gone through over the past year, I'm sure that Georgia and the team will err on the side of caution when it comes to making these announcements. So we'll work on SC6, but if it's SC7, then that's great. And of course, the drilling I mentioned that is continuing in the southeast. The two holes 162 and 163, very pleasing lithium levels. The southeast zone, the team said, appears to be the SQI zone, or the spodumene quartz intergrowth dominant zone, which is important. And then, of course, from a financial standpoint, the company has an offtake agreement with Canex Technologies. And of course, Canex, were expecting an order last year. They were expecting their first orders to come through. The delays have meant they haven't received it, but they've said they're happy to roll forward those monthly payments despite the product non-delivery. Again, teething problems, getting the plant up and running. So we're approaching a really pivotal juncture for Premier, and I'm sure once the production restarts and the wheels start turning, so to speak, we're going to see a big upsurge in the valuation of Premier, and of course, legions of excited shareholders will hopefully start to realize their dreams. It's a really important Q1 for the company, so lots more to come.
Indeed. Well, yeah, everyone will be watching that very, very closely. Hopefully, I'll get to catch up with George next week. I know the Indaba, of course, is on, and I know he's going, so we're definitely trying to grab a few words with him. Maybe there'll be some news from the company. Who knows? But yes, very nice to see that mill. The video that Prem put out, that's a big mill on its way over there now. So it's good to see that going, and I'm sure we'll be catching up. Yeah, well, either when that's arrived or even before that's arrived, see what's going on. But yeah, certainly very exciting, or nail-biting maybe, depending on your attitude to risk over the next few weeks. But that's why we do it. We do it for the love, don't we? We do it for the white knuckle ride, as you said, white knuckle ride. Yeah.
Well, it is, but I think it's that's why we do investing. Or that's why we invest into these companies. And I mean, the Blanket announcement. Yeah, we have the second tranche of funding from the DFC. Now you'd think with a further $1 million coming into the company to accelerate progress, that the share price would have risen. No, it didn't. It actually fell. It dipped below 4p again. So, and we're back just on 4p now. But yeah, it's just the way it progresses. Of course, if investors suspect that perhaps there's more funding required for the actual running of the company, then they may feel that money's going to be raised at a lower level. But I think given where Blanco is with its DFC funding, as we were discussing last week, I'm sure we're going to see that share price move forward as the year progresses too. But
yeah.
Yes, indeed. But certainly for Premier, it's at that pivotal juncture, and we'll see. We'll no doubt hear of the production coming online in the next few weeks.
Indeed. Okay, so Voyager then, Alan, not Nick. Nick is the CEO of Voyager.
Nick is the CEO of Voyager. He's also, of course, the MD at ECR Minerals.
Indeed, yeah.
And no doubt investors following ECR Minerals on social media will have seen some of the many videos that have gone out over the past few weeks of Nick's trip to Australia. But we're not talking about ECR today. We're talking about Nick's other company, Voyager Life, which has been a bit of a slow burn, although perhaps that's not the right term to associate with cannabinoid products or CBD products. But Nick, of course, founded Voyager Life, acquisited Voyager Life in 2020 as a trusted brand for premium CBD and hemp products sold at fair prices. The objective is to grow it into a vertically integrated pan-European CBD and hemp business, operating, of course, out of Perth, Scotland. And that evolution process has been steady. It hasn't sort of blown the doors off, so to say, but nonetheless, the company's now got a market cap of 1.5 million. shares are trading at 11p. We've come off year highs off at 15p. Sorry, 14.25p, not 15p. But even so, the company has delivered steady and slow process. Of course, it was hampered, I think, in the middle of last year by the diversion into Poland, which of course didn't work out, but that was settled, and the escrow money came back into the company to the point where the company now has a cash balance of 550,000. And in also in December, of course, the company announced its half year results. We saw revenues of 165,000, up from 135,000 previously. But I think operationally, more significantly, Voyager is really getting to the point where it's starting to diversify its distribution platforms. It's it has received formal approval to manufacture food supplements. It has Jolly's, who are a major retailer, stocking its products. The Voyager products have also been listed by Debenhams online store, and indeed the company won the best CBD retailer award in 2023. Then, as we came towards the end of the year, the company announced that Pets at Home, the retailer, will be stocking Voyager pet care products, and that's a significant step forward for the company again. And this is the story. This is the slowly evolving story that we're seeing with Voyager Life. And the company, I believe, will turn into a pretty decent cash cow of a business. It's in the process where it's making acquisitions at the moment, and improving its distribution network, and we can see this steady growth and steady progress by the company. Then, of course, about a week ago, the company announced it had acquired Amphora Health, again a supplier of CBD and hemp products. So there's sector consolidation going on, and Voyager seems to be a key player in that. And the Nick Tulloch, as we've seen his operations and his financial structuring of businesses, we've seen already with ECR has made a real impact on the company, and that's very much in evidence at Voyager. With the acquisition, it was agreed that they would pay an initial £50,000 in shares, 16,000 shares at 12p. And then KPIs included an additional 416,000 shares at 12p, another 50,000 once sales of Amphora Health products embedded into Voyager Life hit £100,000. And that's great, because once sales from Amphora hit £100,000, that's going to provide a substantial drive up of Voyager revenues overall. And we're going to see a company that's generating plenty of cash with a very strong distribution network. And from there, you'll get to a tipping point of scalability. And that's the great thing with these small niche retail products. They get to that point. There's a tipping point where economies of scale start to kick in. You've got the manufacturing process in place, and all of a sudden you're attracting the bigger retailers, and sales suddenly go through the roof. And you've still got those low controlled production costs and running costs, and that is what Nick is very good at. So I think we're approaching an exciting inflection point for Voyager Life. Shares, and again, this is probably as much to do with the fact the stock it's a quiet backwater stock on the Aquis market. But I think there's an opportunity here to probably dip in and pick up some shares. And I think investors holding these shares or buying in at these levels could receive a very pleasant surprise as the year progresses, because I don't think Voyager is too far off that tipping point.
Excellent. Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much for giving us the research talks there, your chat on sovereign metals, Premier African Minerals, and Voyager Life. And end of January, you're into February now. Let's see what next week brings.
Indeed, indeed. Well, we've seen it's been a pretty eventful start to the year, as we were saying, Mark, at the outset. We've seen that big move for power metal resources and also gold metal as well. Gold metal
Yes.
resources. That's a really substantial move. Of course, with the results from Garfield and the expansion of that zone there, and of course that's cornerstoned all the way through by the Pilot Hill or the Pilot Mountain project with that JORC tungsten resource mineral MRE there, which is hugely important.
Indeed, yeah. Well, hopefully it's the start of sets the tone for the year. Let's hope. Let's hope.
Indeed.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.